Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here, welcome back to the channel for another update on Bitcoin. So there's a few things that I want to update in this video. There are a few bullish signals that are flashing. I'm going to talk about the relevance of them, how important they are, and of course talk about some bearish signals which are of course still in play for the markets. And we'll also update my BTC trade. So let's jump right into this now. If you do remember, about a couple of weeks ago or so we were entering this Bitcoin trade, and unfortunately this one did get liquidated, so apologies for this. Of course, if you've been following the channel for a while, the channel has just turned 1 year old, and we've beautifully navigated the bear market. We've made plenty of trades quite recently that have been very profitable. Right now, KDA trade got stopped out in 19% profit. The last time we did 2 trades on KDA, they were 2.8x returns each, and of course this one got liquidated, which I am apologetic about. But a lot of people are acting like, Cowboy, you missed the bottom, Cowboy, you've been wrong this entire time. But it's very, very funny to me. I would just like to quickly remind you that it has been about 2 months since I made this video, Bitcoin time to DCA, and as we did break down into new lows, I told you I was going to be buying heavily at 17k and 16k. So from the buys that we did get down here, we are up about 33% or so. So once again, this is not to say this makes up for the fact that we were liquidated, but it is to say, of course, as I've been saying on the channel, I'm not going to be right 100% of the time. This is one of the instances where I have been proven wrong. So let's jump right into the technicals. Once again, this rally was very, very unexpected in my opinion. At least I didn't foresee this coming, which is why I was in a short, which did get liquidated. Nonetheless, the KDA trade got stopped out in a 19% profit. I'll make a update on that a little bit later. But since this has come out, or since the last video, I have seen a few bullish technicals, and while I am still bearish, while I am still calling for 14k, 12k, 10k, my thoughts on the market haven't changed. I'm also going to get a stock market update out talking about, how I think the stock market's going to turn around to the downside very, very soon. Let's of course talk about the bullish signals that are right now playing out in the market. So if we start off on our first chart on the weekly time frame, you can see that we have come down and bounced from this 786 Fibonacci region. Now, the 618 Fibonacci is around about 29,000. Not that I think we're going to come up to 29,000, but it is something to take note of that we have had a minor bounce. Now, on most charts though, you can flip this on its head, because if we do zoom in, you can actually see the highs were around about 21,500. On some exchanges, it was 21,600. And we're still making lower highs from this region. If you're looking at Kraken, we've actually pushed up to this target pretty much exactly. But on most charts, we are still making lower lows and lower highs, even from, this fake pump on the 31st of October. Nonetheless, we are bouncing from the 786 Fibonacci, so something to take note of. If we do also come over to the monthly time frame, switch over to the Heikenashis, you can see that they've turned green. Now, technically, if you're doing doji candles, if you've watched my educational series, we've talked about how if you are using Heikenashis, you do not count doji candles in a downtrend. So for example, if you're breaking down red and you've got a green doji candle, this is the same as a red candle. And also, if you are in an uptrend, say for example, let's come up here, you can see during this bull run in 2015, we actually had a red doji candle, but once again, you discount doji candle, so this would have just been another green bar, which of course continued to break up to the upside. Nonetheless, we haven't seen the Heikenashi switch green at all for a very, very long time. So once again, another bullish sign that you might want to take note of. The Bitcoin hash rate as well, if we do zoom in, has just pushed up and made a new high, which is once again kind of like a double-edged sword, because miners are very unprofitable right now, and there is a lot of competition to mine the same amount of Bitcoin, and the hash ribbons indicator has just flipped bullish. Now, this flipped bullish over on the 14th of January, so it's been bullish for the past 2 days. However, you might want to note that it takes approximately 1 month of flipping bullish from a downtrend over on the hash ribbons indicator for a correct bullish signal to print. So for example, you can see, there's dark pink here where we cross bearish, and then there's a light pink region here where we did cross bullish. And you can see we crossed bullish over on the 17th of May, and we only were bullish for just underneath a month, and then we crossed back bearish on the 3rd of June. So you can see, this was a momentary fake print in terms of a bullish switch over on the hash ribbons indicator before we continued with the capitulation to the downside. So This happens every now and then. This is why when you are looking at the hash rate indicator, you can see every now and then you get these light pink bars that print themselves after the dark print bars. And this means that you flipped bullish, but once again, you do need to flip bullish for an entire month and get continuation on the hash rate indicator for a correct bullish signal to print. Nonetheless, there are a few bullish technicals playing out like we talked about. You can also see Bitcoin's come back down to its previous all-time high, and it is bouncing at this moment in time, even if we are still making lower lows and lower highs in the macro time frame. So like I said, I am always going to try and look at the markets as objectively as possible, so I did want to talk about these bullish technicals, even if I don't think they're going to play out. It's important for me to be as unbiased as possible and not just report on bearish technicals. When I do see bullish technicals, I will give you my thoughts on them. I will update you and let you know when I do see them. However, these bullish technicals, they're not as important as a lot of the other macro things that are going on in the markets right now. Like I said at the start of the video, I'm going to get a stock market update out a little bit later on, and right now it's still not looking good for the stock market. The Fed is not pivoting. They've made that very clear in their previous FOMC meeting. If we look at the fear and greed index for the stock market, it's pushing up to 63, and it is in greed right now. I'm going to get a separate video out on some of these metrics, but the stock market is very overextended, and it doesn't look like a pivot for the traditional markets is in sight. And of course, Bitcoin is rallying right now based on what the traditional markets are doing. So I think when the traditional markets break back down, which I will talk about in a separate stock market update, that Bitcoin, all the other cryptocurrencies will come back down to the downside. So let's quickly talk about the bearish technicals. Now, as you can see, we broke back down like we talked about. We broke into no man's land where, very, very quick moves do happen. You can see that this region right here is actually where we found a tiny bit of support for, and like we always say on the channel, when you do come into an area where there's no previous liquidity traded, you have very, very quick moves to the upside and the downside. And it looks like, once we held this as support, we had a very quick move back up to the upside. Where are we currently residing? Well, first of all, let's look at the last time that we had a massive liquidity grab. You can see we broke down, found ourselves at the start of no man's land before bouncing up to the upside. And where did we come into? You can see the markets pinged all the way up to this red rectangular bar where we had a decent amount of previous volume traded. We broke down, bounced up, formed a bear flag, grabbed liquidity, and then of course broke back down into new lows. Now, it's a little bit hard to see, but you can also see there is another massive volume profile right here. And if we do look at where Bitcoin is currently residing, since we've broken down into this no man's land, once again found support at this next volume profile to the downside, we have pinged back up, and it looks like we're grabbing liquidity. Now, the price target to keep your eyes on is really around about 21,650, 21,700 if you want to give it a little bit of leeway to the upside, but it is potential, in my opinion, that once again this is just another liquidity grab before we do break back down to the downside to 14k. My price targets have not changed, my scenario hasn't changed, my DCA plan, how I think the bear market is going to play out, has absolutely not changed. Once again, you remember we were buying at 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, and I told you once we broke down into new lows, this was the region where I'm going to start deploying 60% of my portfolio. And so far we've only hit 2 of these targets, meaning that I have deployed 10% of my portfolio here and 30% of my portfolio here. So I've deployed about 40% of my readily available capital already to DCA into Bitcoin. Once again, we heavily DCA'd in at 17k, we heavily DCA'd in at 16k, which is funny to me because whenever I receive comments like Cowboy, it seems like you may have missed the bottom. I think these people are new and forgot that, once again, we were buying at 17 and 16, and this doesn't mean that even though we've pushed up and we're, 33% up from where I bought at 16k, this does not mean that I think the bottom is in. I still think we come down to 15k. I still think we come down to 14k. Like I told you in my last video, I was going to be away from the weekend, but if anything happens, if any thoughts of mine change, if I do flip bullish, I will let you know like that, even if it is just over on my Twitter. And of course, absolutely nothing has changed whatsoever in my opinions. A lot of these bearish signals seem far more important than these on-chain metrics, which have previously called bottoms. However, once again, we're in unprecedented times right now. Bitcoin has never seen a recession before. It's never seen, an absolute stock market annihilation, which we're currently sitting in at this moment in time. But anyway, moving on to some of our final charts. I did just make a video talking about this with the CME gaps, but we do also have macro resistance coming in at 22,700. We've got macro resistance coming in at 24,700. And once again, I've drawn the bottom of the range over here, round about 27.9k all the way up to 29.2k. Just because this is resistance that I'm highlighting does not mean that I think we're going to push up to this level. But once again, there are a lot of macro resistances that are still overhead. We haven't broken out of any of these at this moment in time. So it seems like we are still very, very overextended. I do believe we're going to look at the oscillators in just one moment, so I won't put it up on this chart. Another bearish signal which is playing out. If we look at the EMA ribbons, you can see since Bitcoin topped out at 69,000, we've had a few fake outs where the daily EMA ribbons have fired a bullish signal. Now, you can see over here we had a huge run up, huge liquidity grab up to about 49,000, and the EMA ribbons fired bullish. We came back down to the EMA ribbons to test them as support. We bounced on them, and instead of pushing up and making a new high, which is a successful retest, we bounced, made an M pattern, and broke back down to the downside. So you can see not the last time, sorry, the first time this happened, we topped out around about 49,000. If we zoom in again, once again, bear in mind, it depends on what exchange you're looking at. On most exchanges, this is still a lower high from this level by literally about $100 or so. So it is something to take note of. I believe 21,600 is the price that this topped out on most exchanges. However, if you're looking at Kraken, and I believe one other exchange, which I can't remember, this actually topped out around about 21.5. So if you're looking at Bittrex, any other exchange, Binance, we actually are still putting in lower highs from this region. But once again, continuing from this, topped out at 49,000 all the way up here during a fake EMA flip. You can see over here, we broke up, tested the EMAs, and they flipped bullish as we started to move back up. We broke up to the upside, and as we came back down for that back test, once again, instead of pushing up higher, we tested it and fell through the floorboards. And once again, you can see EMA ribbons are once again firing bullish, and every time this happens, we seem to be putting in another lower high, and these always seem to be huge runs up to the upside. We have a very short-lived rally before breaking back down to lower price targets. If we do come over to the oscillators, you can see the squeeze momentum indicator right now is flat at neutral. Now, we have not been at neutral since we flipped bearish round about 48,000. So the squeeze momentum indicator is extremely neutral right now. So if we are, getting ready for that next move to the downside, we have so much room to break down. 14K, 12K, 11K, 10K, these are all on the table in my opinion. The stochastic RSI, blue moving average, has pushed up to 85 right now. You can still see, we are in a nice downtrend on the stochastic RSI on the weekly time frame. And the MFI, we topped out over on the 4th of January, formed a trend line over on the 18th. We got rejected here, and once again, we're putting in lower highs. The MFI has just exceeded the heart line, and right now the MFI is looking very overextended on the weekly time frame. If we come over to the daily time frame, you can see the squeeze momentum indicator is having a monumental run up. In fact, it has not been this high since around about the 30th of March. So let's see what this price target correlates to. If we come over to the 30th of March, probably around here. Yeah, 49,000, 48,400 approximately is the last time the squeeze momentum indicator was this overextended. The stochastic RSI has literally been sitting at around about 99 to 100 for the past week or two. So it's extremely overextended, and the stochastic right now is actually looking to turn down as we are coming into key areas of resistance, like these liquidity profiles that we just mentioned. Now once again, stochastic RSI extremely topped out, and the MFI has similarly been chilling round about 96 to 97 for the past week, so or for the past 3 days approximately. So a lot of these signals, a lot of the oscillators, in fact, all of the ones that we look at on the channel are telling us that a top is coming very soon. And like I said, I am going to get an update out on the stock market and talk about a little reality check, looking at some very important fear and greed indexes, looking at the traditional charts, talking about, how the Fed will be navigating this cycle. I'll definitely try and get that out tomorrow. I've recorded a few mini updates with a few mini thoughts to post today, because obviously, like I said, I've been away for the past few days, so I want to give you a little bit of content before I do head out tonight, and then I will come back tomorrow, get an update on the stock market out. I don't think I have time today to update KDA. Tomorrow, once again, I will get an update out. So in the next day or so, expect a lot of updates. I will be updating my next thoughts on KDA. I'll be updating the stock market. I'll be updating the next FOMC meeting, my thoughts on the Fed, all of the traditional charts, the dollar, S&P 500, NASDAQ, fractals. Once again, reality check for what is going on in the stock market right now. But just to let you know, fear and greed indexes, wrapping this up with some on-chain metrics. The fear and greed pushed into neutral for Bitcoin yesterday, and it's currently sitting at 45, which doesn't make too much sense considering we've just pushed up. I think it's because we broke down a little bit since the last reading. The next update will be in about 3 hours or so, so if this is anything important, I'll update you over on my Twitter at 618_cowboy, but this is super important. Bitcoin, the crypto markets, they follow the traditional markets. They follow the S&P 500, and right now, fear and greed indexes for the S&P 500 are telling us that we're in greed, we're neutral, extreme greed, greed, neutral, greed. This one's in fear, but as a general rule of thumb, we're pushing into greed for the majority of these. So that's really all I've got. And once again, one of the major metrics that we've been using to navigate this market and successfully call for new lows every single time the past year. Like I said, of course, I was proven wrong on this instance. I was liquidated, but once again, we've had this channel for the past 12 months or so. Every trade we've put out apart from this one has been in the profit. So I would just like to highlight that once again. Apologies if you entered this trade, but if you entered the previous KDA ones, every other trade that we've made has fully made up for this. But nonetheless, last metric, if we are looking at what whale wallets are doing, once again, they sold at 46,500. They are still not buying. They're still literally lollygagging round about these lows. So there's no whale interest, there's no institutional interest. And if you go on Twitter and type in, hashtag Bitcoin, everyone has this notion right now. Everyone's saying the majority are bearish, so the bull market is in. But that notion alone is what the majority of people think. Most people think everyone's bearish, so we should be bullish. But once again, that's counterintuitive. If you type in hashtag Bitcoin, you got people like this saying the bull market begins, $1 million is coming. Bitcoin hasn't seen this much volume in nearly 2 years, a very positive sign. Historical Bitcoin buy signal. A lot of these accounts, Crypto Rover, Crypto, this Ronin guy talking about Bitcoin pushing up to, new highs and all this, Bitcoin to $1 million, all the clown accounts like Crypto, Moon Carl, Martini guy, all these people that are bullish right now, they've been bullish for the past 12, 16 months. They were bullish at the top. They were bullish at 69K, 50K, 40K, 30K, 25K, 17.5K, 16K, and now they're celebrating when Bitcoin is at 21,300. A lot of people are worrying that you may have missed the bottom. However, if you didn't buy at 69K, 50K, 40K, 30K, 25K, 21K is really not too far from the local bottom at this moment in time. And of course, while I do think we are going to be breaking lower, I would once again like to say we've been buying at 17K, 16K, and in the next few months, I believe we'll be buying at 15, 14, 12, 11, maybe even down to 10K. That's all I've got for you for this video, my friends. As always, if you do enjoy the content, let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment. Share the videos with your friends. And if you do want more of my charts, data, posts, memes, if you want more, once again, posts from me while I am away from the markets, because I'm not glued to my chair 24/7 making videos, be sure to head over to my Twitter at 618_cowboy. For today, my friends, that's all I've got. Expect a few mini updates coming out in the next 24 hours. As always, it's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out. Peace.